All right, back with another mock draft reaction video. We're going to go with a Nick Wright mock draft reaction. And I know some of you might say, wait a second, isn't he just like a hot take guy? What are we doing here? Well, yes, he is a hot take guy. He was actually one of the most accurate, the mock draft he made last year was actually one of the most accurate mock drafts of last year, which they even bragged about on this segment of the show. So I figured, hey, well, why not give my thoughts on it? And it's just an interesting mock draft to talk about. So yeah, let's just get into it. So the first 8 picks of his mock draft, again, 1 through 7 are pretty similar. Kind of the biggest question is, how is 2 and 3 gonna go? But usually it's either Carter and then Hunter, or Hunter and then Carter. If Abdul Carter goes number 2, it feels pretty I feel pretty confident this will be the first 7. Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, Will Campbell, Mason Graham, Ashton Genty, and Armand Membu. Number 8, though, is one I really agree with and I really like. This is why Nick Wright was good last year, is because, yes, like Ted McMillan for the Panthers just makes sense to me. Like, they need a receiver. He's a really good receiver. It's someone that can help out Bryce Young. I know their defense stinks, but one defensive player isn't going to change that. But one receiver could really help out Bryce Young and continue to help his development, which, again, they can't just keep throwing him into the fire and expecting him not to get burned. So, absolutely agree with this pick. I'm completely in agreement with Nick Wright here. Next, 8. So Tyler Warren to the Saints. Now, this is only a week ago. So the Shedeur Sanders at number 9 talk had definitely boiled up at this point. So Nick is aware of this, but isn't fully buying in just yet. Says, you know what? They're just going to go with a good player, which, okay, I can certainly see the logic. I don't think it's a guarantee they go quarterback. I definitely think it's possible. There are people who really like Tyler Warren, and maybe they view this as their Brock Bowers situation of, hey, yeah, there's some quarterbacks that we could like go up and, in that case, it was trade up and get, but we don't know if we want to fully trade up for Bo Nix. We don't know if we liked him as a prospect that much, which, again, in hindsight, Bo Nix played well, but at the time, don't know if we want to do that. They just stayed pat and got Brock Bowers, and the Raiders were great there. Maybe the Saints feel something similar could happen. At number 10, so Mike Green, I just don't think the Bears would draft him. Again, this is what Nick, not what he would do, but what he thinks will happen. This is probably my first big disagreement, is I just don't think that they would, with the off-the-field issues, go for him. I think he would just be like off the board. Certain franchises will be okay with it. Certain ones won't. I feel like the Bears are one that won't. We saw this with Jalen Carter, a little bit back, right? That's just kind of how it is. Would be a good player for them and would be a good fit. Number 11, Jody Barron. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Number 12, so Nick did clarify that Luther Burden, it might not necessarily be that player, but he feels like a receiver in general would go number 12. I don't think it would be that player. I think it would be someone else in that spot. And I don't know if the Dallas Cowboys need a wide receiver at 12. I think that they have other holes that they can fill, including some players that are only getting picked a few picks later. So we'll see. But Will Johnson at 13, yep, that makes sense. Dolphins could use a corner, and he's a good corner. At 14, James Pierce Jr. of the Indianapolis Colts, player I really like. I think should be getting talked about in a top 15 range. Again, he has some character concerns, not for like unethical things he does, but just like, is he coachable, things like that. But ultimately, who cares? He's a great player. He would definitely help out the Colts a lot. I wouldn't hate it if it happened, although I don't know if it will happen. At 15, Jahad Campbell to the Falcons. That's a very interesting pick. They have Caden Ellis and then Divine Diablo, so it's not exactly a linebacking core that's striking fear into opposing teams' hearts, but also they don't need to go linebacker there. But again, maybe they just feel like he's the best player, and I think teams should do this kind of thing more often of like, okay, yeah, maybe there's one player that's worse on our starting 22 than this guy, but like, this guy's going to help us more because he's better. So I just kind of view it that way. And then 16, Kenneth Grant. Again, a little bit early compared to what I've seen in a lot of mock drafts, but he is a good player who would help out the Cardinals. I just wonder if there's players who could help them out more. Number 17 with the Cincinnati Bengals, Malachi Starks, who I like this pick a lot more than what I see some others get mentioned. I do think that adding to the secondary is a big issue. They really struggled with that last year at playing defense, basically. So adding there, I think a lot of times people are trying to like maybe fit a square peg into a round hole with trying to get a defensive player for the Bengals, but not getting someone that would actually work. I think Starks would work there. Emeka Egbuka. I never learned how to say his name. I should learn that. It's hard because I don't watch college football. I just study these guys by watching tape, but then I never hear their names actually get announced because I'm not watching the broadcast. I'm watching all 22 and listening to a podcast or something. So, okay, that's my fault. He's a good player, though. Again, Seattle has lost some pieces. It's not the biggest position of need as of right now. They did add Cooper Kupp, but honestly, they probably could add someone else. So I do ultimately agree with the logic there. 19, Colston Loveland. I just don't know if I get this because they have Cade Otton, who is a pretty good receiving tight end. He's not a star, and I do think Loveland could develop into a better player, but the weird thing about this is, well, a lot of people say, well, you can run 2 tight end sets. Loveland and Otton, they do very similar things, and quite frankly, I just don't see Tampa Bay doing that, especially when their defense was just so bad last year. I think that they need to improve defensively. They need to improve defensive depth because one injury would kill them last year. Don't really see the logic here. Now, maybe Nick just doesn't think there's a great defensive piece on the board right here. I don't know, but yeah. Marion Hampton to the Broncos, what I've seen speculated before. Definitely see that as a Sean Payton move. Shedeur Sanders at 21 to the Steelers is fascinating. Again, what's the Aaron Rodgers of it all, right? How does he view if they decide to select a quarterback? I don't know. But ultimately, maybe he would be okay with it at this point in his career. He is older now than he was in the Jordan Love thing. He's also not under contract. Maybe he wouldn't be okay with it and wouldn't sign. Or maybe he's not as close to signing with the Steelers as we think he is, and maybe they just say, hey, we don't know what's going on. Let's just get a guy. I have no idea, but it's certainly on the table. Walter Nolan at 22, which is a move I don't think is crazy. Now, everyone is predicting the Chargers to get a receiver. I think I predicted Colston Loveland if he falls there, but ultimately, if they don't love the right, the receivers that have fallen, and a good amount of receivers have been taken, if they don't like that, they're not going to reach on a receiver. That's just not how they operate. They would love to improve the trenches. That they just would. The Packers, Donovan Izaraku, who is another player that I don't hate this, actually. Again, no one knows what to do with the Packers. There's not really a perfect fit, it seems like, but honestly, that'd be pretty good. He's a good player. They could help, who can't use an edge rusher, right? Jalen Walker at 24 to the Vikings, very versatile player, so I get why Nick is doing that. I just, quite frankly, I think it seems like the NFL views him a lot higher than the general fan base, general public does. I think he's going higher than 24, but again, this is right around where, for me as someone who isn't a big Jalen Walker fan, I can start to see the logic. Final 8. So first, Calvin Banks Jr. to the Texans. Would be a big fan of that. I think he's a very good player. Matthew Golden, a really good receiver. A lot of people have him going a lot earlier. Many have him being the Dallas Cowboys pick at pick 12. It is hard to know which receiver is going to end up where. I'm a little surprised by the idea that they're assume they're going to go with a receiver because you have Puka Nacua and you have Devontae Adams and you have Tutu Atwell, who they paid $10 million a year to, so they like him. But ultimately, you can never have too many receivers. I do think there are bigger needs, but it's not crazy. If you like Golden enough as a player, maybe just get him. Again, Adams is getting up there in age. Atwell's on a 1-year deal. You can make something like this work. Mikael Williams, sure, would be a good edge rusher for the Ravens. I don't hate that. Shamar Stewart to the Lions. I'm just not a huge Shamar Stewart fan. And quite frankly, I think this is like the worst fit imaginable. Just because, I get the logic because he is a good run defender, and that's the Lions do value that for sure. But I think what I don't love about it is, do you want to go with with a developmental guy when I feel like you're kind of in the prime of your window right now, right? Aiden Hutchinson's going to get paid soon. Do you want to have a player in Shamar Stewart who's probably only going to be good after some of these young guys start to get paid and some more of these young guys start to get paid? That would be my concern. 29 for the Commanders is kind of similar. So it's Nick Scornton here out of Texas A&M. Both of these Texas A&M guys, you don't really know what to do with. They're both kind of, they're edge rushers, but one's 290 and then Scornton's 285. So a 285 edge rusher who moves well for his size, but I don't know if he moves well enough for an edge rusher. What do you do with this player? I don't know. I don't know what you do with that player. So I don't know if Washington wants, again, kind of a developmental guy when they're trying to be competitive right now with 3 years of Daniels still on his rookie deal. Nick Emanuele at 30. Yeah, I like that. Again, if a good first round talent safety is available at 30, then take the good first round talent safety. Nick, tackle does happen to fall to Nick Wright's favorite team, the Kansas City Chiefs. That's convenient, but ultimately, I don't think it's crazy if that happens. I do think they probably take him at that point, or take at least a tackle, and then Gray Zabel, who I would like them doing something like this. You don't want to go into the season with just fully trusting Kenyon Green's going to get it all together. If he's available, yeah, I don't think this is crazy to do. Again, I think the Eagles are more likely just going to draft best player available. So ultimately, yeah, a fun mock draft that I think had some interesting things to talk about. So I had fun with this. What did you think of this mock draft? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.